Welcome in, dads, to the Full Force Fathers podcast, episode 16. So glad you're here with us today. Dave, how you doing?
I am doing great, Brett. I cannot believe this is airing now on June 28th, and it's my daughter's 9th birthday today. It's amazing. I can't believe I have a 9-year-old daughter. I know you just had one turn 9. I don't know where the time has gone, but my Lord, she's going into 4th grade, and I just really don't know what to do with myself.
Yes, yeah. Listen, I got you beat by a month on the 9-year-old, so happy birthday to Kendall. It's pretty cool to see. I've seen her grow now for the last 4 years here, live and in living color. So she's a firecracker. So you definitely got your hands pulled down. She's a strong-willed little girl. Let's put it that way. But 9, man, doesn't it just go by so fast?
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I remember the day we went to the hospital like it was yesterday. And to think now that she's 9 years old is it's astonishing to me. And her brother's right behind her, which is scary. And it's kind of starting to hit me now. Like, my God, we've got to really enjoy the moments we have because it is going super fast. But if she has a year like she had last year, I can't wait to see what she can accomplish this year because 8 was good to her. I hope 9's even better.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. Caroline just turned 9 about a month ago. And for me, I think this year's a big one for me too, because Madison's going to be 12 in, beginning of August. And for some reason, the number 12 just hits differently, right? You have like 1, and then you have 5, and then it's like kindergarten, and you have 10, you hit double digits. 11's kind of but 12 now you're almost 13, right? You're
next year is the big one for a teenager.
You're 12 if you're just right there on the cusp. I mean, I'm not worried about Madison at all, as you know. She's super mature, super smart, super everything good. You're right though. It's insane how fast it goes by to know that I'm going to be the father of a 12-year-old. Like, really? I feel like I'm 12 half the time.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy. I mean,
it's true.
Literally, some days I act like I'm 12. It's just the truth of the matter. But anyways, yeah. So happy birthday to Kendall. 9 years old, 4th grade. Let's keep on rolling with them and rolling with the punches. And we got a good show for you today. And it's kind of going to tie into kids getting older and as they progress through grades in high school, and then the big question mark of college. So we're going to get into a little bit of college topic talk today. First, as always, I'm going to start with the Bible verse here, and it's going to come from the book of Luke. All right, chapter 14, verse 28. And it says, "Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it?" So our proverbial tower in today's topic is going to be college. Okay. Now, when you sit down, Dave, and this is a topic you've wanted to touch on for a while, and I'm going to let you take the lead with it. I'm just going to kind of get into it a little bit and set the tone here. The proverbial tower is college. From a financial standpoint, you want to sit down with your parents or whoever, yourself, and can you afford it? Can you afford to pay for it, right? Like, can you build the tower? Do you have enough money to build the tower? Do you have enough money to pay for college? If you don't, what do you do? What are ways to get to that ultimate goal of college? You know what I'm saying? So let's kind of hop into the financial aspect of college, Dave, and let's take a trip down that path.
Yeah, it is such an expensive thing, and I didn't realize this till I started doing some of the research for it. College has gone up 500% since 1999, which to me is an astonishing number. I don't know about you, but holy cow!
Yeah, that's a big number,
and it is. And what was even more staggering as I dove into these numbers was that a study by Moody's in 2020 showed that there's $1.6 trillion out there in student loan debt, which again is another monster number, right?
Yep.
It's incredible to see how much is just floating out there that people have accumulated before mostly the age of 22. You get out of high school and you go into college and everybody's, you got to go to the best school you can to get the best degree possible to find a job. But you know what the most interesting point is? That the cost of college has gone up 500%. 1.6 trillion is out there in student loan debt. the average wage for those people coming out of college is actually down 10%.
That's
Something's not right there.
Yeah, no. It's interesting. The topic of college in general is it's interesting. To me, it's almost like it's a specialty type of thing. Yeah, if you're going to be a doctor, you got to go to college, or if you're going to be a lawyer, you got to go to law school. If you're going to be a teacher, it's a prerequisite that you have a teaching degree, or whatever. There's so many specialty items or careers out there that it's something that's required. But, and this is kind of a broad topic in terms of, and we're definitely, I want to get into the financial parts of it. And I have some questions to ask you about the financials of college, but in general, the question of college, no college, I think number one, if you don't have any idea what you want to do, maybe you wait. I didn't go to college right away. I graduated high school in 2003. I didn't start college till 2006. So, because right away I didn't know what I wanted to do. Was there going to be the military thing like my brother, go follow my brother's path into the military and a couple of my friends, or was I just going to work for my father, or was I going to go to college? So for me, it was kind of like, by the time 2006 rolled around and I had, 2 or 3 jobs and was doing pretty well for myself, I decided, maybe it's the right path now, but in general, it's kind of one of those, like, my personal perspective as a father is like, if Madison or Caroline or Finley, if they don't want to go, that's not something I'm going to force them to do, because number one, unless, I want you to talk about some financial plans when it comes to college, but like, if they're not wanting to go, I'm not going to be spending the money for them not to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's starting to change a little bit, because I remember as a kid growing up, it was always, you're going to go to college. This is the path. Neither of my parents went to college, so that was a big thing for them, to send me to college. And it was a great experience for me. I wouldn't have done some of the things in my life that I've been able to do had I not gone to college, because it required a degree to get in the door. So for that, I'm grateful. I'm even more grateful that my parents paid for my college. Now, they didn't save up ahead of time and pay for everything. They paid as they went. They had some loans that they took out for it, but they took on that responsibility for me, and I was very lucky in that regard. Casey, it wasn't the case. We paid for her student loans. That was part of our debt snowball as we were getting out of debt. So, you see it from both sides of the equation there on how you go about getting to college. But, as you said, like right now, if my kids wanted to say, you know what, I don't know if college is the right choice. Maybe I want to go into a trade. You know what? There's not enough skilled tradesmen out there right now. Mm-hmm. And I'd be okay with that. I'd be okay with, Bryce or Kendall kind of diving into a trade, maybe starting their own business and growing an entrepreneur, business that way, instead of going like the traditional, the last 20, 25 years of, you go to grade school, and off you go to college, and after high school, it's always college. Maybe that's not the best choice now.
Yeah, no. And I think to talk about some of the financial stuff, it's a huge burden. I mean, like you said, $1.6 trillion in student loan debt, and I have a good friend of mine who's a doctor. We're close with their family, and not to get too personal, she talks about, the amount of debt, from student loans that they have. It's astonishing, the number, and I don't even know the number, just by the way they talk about it, I can only imagine how big of a number it is, between undergrad, grad, med school, whatever comes after that, you know what I'm saying? And like, we're talking 6 figures, a high 6 figures worth of debt. Now he's a doctor, and it's awesome because we need doctors in the world. And I tip my cap to him because I could never do it. And I'm glad that he is, because I know he's a good dude and I know he's a good doctor. So it's great that he's a doctor. But to me, the flip side of the financial equation is the amount of debt that they've accumulated for the education, because like you said, the cost of it is just outrageous.
Starting out, right? You're starting out in your life, and you get held back by these shackles mm-hmm. that are just holding you back. And as a doctor, right, there's a lot of doctors out there, and it's not all of them. There's a lot of doctors out there that they make it all the way through med school. They become a doctor, and they're saddled with all this debt, but they're a doctor.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
So they go out and they buy the fancy car. They buy the big fancy house. They get all those luxury items. And then they just start to compound. So when you get out of med school, yeah, you're making a really good salary, but you're not able to attack it because most of the time you're spending it on other things too. So you're not able to knock that debt out of the way early. So a lot of these people will carry debt for, God, the majority of their life. A couple interesting statistics. Of the people that have debt, only 14 million are under the age of 30. Okay. And from 30 to 39, it's over 10. 40 to 49, there's almost 6 million. 50 to 59, there's almost 5. And there's 2 million people over the age of 60 that are still carrying student loan debt. So what that tells me is more than half of the student loan debt that's out there is by people over the age of 30, which, I mean, you graduate college at, typically around 22 years old. If you go to grad school, it's a little later. If you go to med school, it's a little later than that. But the majority of people, if we're just talking undergrad and grad, you're out before, 25, and you're not able to pay this off. It can't happen fast because you don't have the income to take care of this problem that you've created for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Like I said, like, lucky for me, college was, like you said, your parents had to pay for it. They took out some loans and stuff. My wife took out student loans. Her parents helped pay for some, but when Andy and I got married, she was still paying student loans, and she paid those off, by herself, after college. My grandfather had put it in his will after he had passed to make sure that the grandkids were able to get through school. But because of the cost of school, not all the grandkids got to use it, because from my sister, who's in her 40s, was the first one to be able to take advantage of that. I have a cousin now that's, in the early 20s that they didn't get to take advantage of that amount because of just how much you said, like how much the cost of college has gone up. And as a father, with 3 daughters, and, what's something that I can do to help ease that burden for them is, I don't know much about savings accounts. I'm pretty sure there's some college plans out there, but is there something that, like, as parents, we can do to help set them up in terms of maybe lightening the load if they do decide to go to college?
Yeah. So if you've been listening to us since the beginning, we talk about the baby steps, and baby steps 4, 5, and 6 are saving for your retirement, saving for kids' college, and then paying off your house. So it falls in between your retirement savings, which we know is going to happen. You're going to be retiring, so that's a guarantee. That's why it slides ahead. But then past that, if you have extra money to help lighten that burden, yes, saving for kids' college is something that's really important. And if you anticipate them going to school, it can be really helpful for them and lighten some of that burden. And there's a couple different things out there. The first is a 529 plan. That's what Casey and I use for the kids. Basically, that's investing in the market. So it rides just like your retirement account would ride. It's up, it's down, but there's a lot of potential for growth opportunity there. But if you don't use it for college, there's a hefty penalty on it. And that's the one drawback. So if you get your kids that are older and they decide they don't want to go to college, there's a big penalty to take that out. The other thing, though, with it is if your oldest doesn't use all of it or decides not to go to college, you can use that for another child. You can use it for yourself. So those types of things, it is flexible in that regard, which is nice. Another thing is an UTMA. You don't see those as much anymore, but that's a Uniform Transfer to Minors Act, which allows you to save money for a child in an account, and they can use it for whatever they want in life. If they decide not to go to college, you can use that for a house or a wedding or just a gift, whatever you want to do, because that money is being saved for them. Ultimately, it goes to them. Now, the difference is the transfer to minors, it's not growing in the stock market like the other. It's not growing tax deferred, tax free. So there's those changes. You got things you got to think about there, but those are the two most common ways that you can save other than putting it in a jar in the safe.
So the 529 plan is tax free. So if they use it for college, they don't pay taxes on it. Is that what I'm gathering?
Right.
And
yeah, if you use it for college, you don't pay tax. It grows tax deferred and it comes out tax free. It's kind of like a Roth.
Yeah, and
it's like a Roth in that regard.
And if you don't use it, then you're paying taxes because essentially it's like a 401k or something like that that's just sitting in the market.
You're paying the taxes on it. You're also taking a penalty and I don't know off the top of my head what the penalty is. I don't want to say the wrong number, but it's a hefty penalty for not using it for the college savings that you were intending it to be used for.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're putting it into a 529, you really want to make sure it's going to educational expenses.
Yeah. And the other thing I was thinking, now that we're talking on the conversation, and I'm just thinking out loud here, I know there's tons of places, scholarships, right? You know, we have a scholarship, and you know, my brother has a scholarship named after my brother that passed away. My sister was the super brains of the family in high school. I know she was able to get some scholarships to help ease some of the pressures of paying for school. And, you know, it's another reason why, you know, I preach athletics and outdoor with your kids, because, you know, who knows, maybe your kid turns into a pretty damn good athlete, and there's a college that wants them to come play sports, he or she sports there. Hey, you can get some of that, you know, some of that college tuition paid for if you're just an athlete, you know. There's many ways, like you're saying, there's 529s, there's UTMAs, there's, you know, college scholarships. There's a lot of different ways. I mean, back to our friend that's a doctor, I don't know what it's called, but if he stays on board at a certain hospital for a number of years, whatever's left of his debt, they pay off. Like, it's almost like what's the word I'm looking for? What is that called? What's that called that I'm looking for? Like forgiving it or something like that.
Well, it's like a debt forgiveness, but you've got to pay with your time over those amount of years. They have the same thing for teachers. If you teach for a certain amount of years out of college in certain states, I know Arizona does that, they'll pay for your education. So there's some of those programs out there that people can take advantage of, but you know, I would never go to school with the intention of doing that, because you don't know what life's going to do to you. You don't know the changes that are going to come. You don't want to commit yourself to 10 or 15 years after school to work at a place. What if you hate it? I mean, what if you absolutely hate it, but you accumulated $250,000 in debt because, they'll pay for it in 15 years. No, we don't want to do that. We want to get out of school with no debt.
Yeah.
That would be the goal, because then you have freedom. You can do what you want. You can work at the place you want to go to. You can move where you want to move. You're not subject to, you know, again, we've used this Bible verse before, that the borrower is slave to the lender. It is always the case, whether someone's going to eventually pay it off for you or not, you are still a slave during that period.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I was, you know, going through the show notes, and I saw where you had mentioned loan forgiveness. I think it's a very small number of loan forgiveness. So if you are banking on loan forgiveness, don't bank on it, because it's only 2% qualify for loan forgiveness, which is crazy to me, which, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. I'm not in the position to pay student loans. I know my position is this: if the girls want to go to college, they're going to go to college. If they don't want to go to college, I'm not going to force them, you know, but I for sure, I'm going to make sure that they don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt to get through it.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's our job as fathers, is to guide them and show them ways in which, you know, they can go to college debt free. It's possible to do that. You just have to work hard. And that's what I think people don't realize. You know, it's just like other debt in society. It's the norm. That's what people do. I got to get student loans. No, you don't have to get student loans. Now, if your parents have been diligent about saving and can help you pay for your college that way, amazing. But even if they haven't, there's still a way to go about doing that. And I think it'd be great if we touched on that a little bit. I didn't realize until I did this research how many scholarships are actually out there. There's 1.7 million private scholarships and 7.5 million federal scholarships. And that totals $7.1 billion every year that can go to kids. And what you have to do is you have to apply for them. You have to find them, you have to apply for them, and you have to be diligent about it. That could be a part-time job for a kid that's getting close to getting out of high school, is going on every day and looking for new scholarships and applying for them. Because that can be a piece that takes a huge burden off as you start going to school.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I remember my sister had some. I don't remember now. My sister went to UConn, so not cheap, but you know, in-state was a little cheaper. But I know she did get some scholarships. I don't know what they accumulated to, but she did have some, you know, which helped for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Some are big scholarships, you know, thousands of dollars. Those are far and few between. but there's a lot of scholarships that are $250, $500. And I'll tell you what, if you add up, I don't know, 8 or 10 of those that maybe you can get through applying for them, that's a decent chunk of your college paid for per semester. And a lot of times what people think is that, oh, once I get into college, I can't do scholarships anymore. No, you keep doing it while you're in school. It doesn't have to just be when you're in high school. You keep applying for those scholarships every year and keep applying and applying and applying, and you can get more and more money for that. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that a good way to save some money, especially for those who don't know what they want to do out of the gate, is you can go to community college. And there's a handful of states that will pay 100% of your tuition if you live in that state, which is pretty amazing, really. And I think it's something that a lot of people should look into and take advantage of, because you can get 2 years of your general eds out of the way, not paying a dime. And that would be amazing. Casey did that. She went and did, now it wasn't fully paid for. Connecticut didn't have that program in place to pay for it fully, but it still was less than going to a university, which was costing more. And then you've got the cost of living, of being on campus, and that sort of thing too. So that's another thing that people can take advantage of. And then the other, just kind of mentioned it with Casey, is like, you can live at home. Mm-hmm. If you live close enough to a university. We're out here in Tucson. We're 25 minutes from the University of Arizona. It's a great university. If the kids want to go to school, I hope they pick there, and I hope they live at home, and we can help support them in that regard. And they could drive down the street and go take their classes. And that's a huge savings, because room and board, rent, food, that could be astronomical too.
Yeah. In state, I know that you'll save money. Like you said, if you're staying in town, even in your case, in town, but if you stay in state, you're going to save, that's why it shows you in state and versus out of state tuition. If you're looking at a certain college, I went to school. I started at community college, just like Casey did. So it was a lot cheaper. And I also worked to pay for my books and things like that. But when I went to school in Vermont, I remember there being 2 different prices, and unfortunately I was out of state. So sure enough, we paid the out of state price because we didn't live in Vermont. So yeah, there's tons of different ways to doing it. But at the end of the day, I want you to go to college for something that you love. If you want to do it, if that's what you want to do, if your passion is to be a teacher, I want you to be there. If your passion is to be a doctor, I'm all in. But if your passion is to get a liberal arts degree and then go work at a job that you hate, that's where I'm gonna be like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah. Is it worth it?
And because
and go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the last big piece of it is people forget that you can work. Going to school doesn't have to be your full-time job. You can still work a full-time job while you're going to school full-time. It is possible to do that. I know I said I was lucky enough to have my parents pay for my school. That didn't mean I didn't work while I was in school, because I wanted to have money set aside in case something happened there and I did need to pay for it, or to build up a savings. So when I got out of school, I had something. So you can work all the way through school. And some jobs even have incredible tuition reimbursement programs. I know when I was at Home Depot back when I was in college, they had tuition reimbursement. So I utilized that to take some of the burden off my parents who were paying for some of it. Target now, I just read the other day, has an incredible tuition reimbursement program. Hey, how about you join the military? We could always, the United States is always looking for good men and women to get out there and serve their country. And when you get out of that, you can have a full education paid for. There's ways to do it. You just have to be willing to put in the time and commit to it. Commit to I'm not going to take out student loans for this to better my future. Because if you get out with nothing, if you get out with no debt, your future is so much brighter and you can move so much faster because of that.
Yeah, no, and two things I want to mention about college. Number one is you definitely can work. I worked the whole time. College is not a full-time job. Even if you take a full semester, a quote unquote full semester of classes, which is 15 credits. So 5 classes, if you take 5 3-credit classes, all right, that does not take 40 hours a week. It doesn't even come close to that. So once you have your schedule set,
3 hours, 3 hours of class.
Once you have your schedule set, you literally can go, okay, here's my schedule from August to January or August to December. Now I can go get a job working, which everyone wants to help anyway. Everyone needs help. Everyone's hiring to work around your college schedule. So say you need 15 hours for classes, 15 hours of studying. This still gives you 15 to 20 hours every week that you could go get a part-time job if you wanted to work a part-time job. Right. And then the second thing I wanted to touch on college is this. If you do decide to go to college, all right, and it's you somehow you end up taking some student loans out because you want to go, you can't pay for it because we already know there's already 1.6 trillion in student loan debt. Okay, you can't afford it, your parents can't afford it, you got a part-time job maybe to help, and you take out some loans, right? Because not everybody, as much as we preach this, it's not 100. We're not 100% here. People are still going to go take out student loans. People that aren't educated in student loans. People that just want to do it, whatever. It is what it is. That leads us back to the Bible verse. Well, guess what? If you take out that debt, it's on you to pay it back. All right. And this kind of turns into current event here, a current event topic right now with the way our government, I've known multiple people now that have had, in my life, mid-30s to late 30s that have had their student loans they're gone. Now, what are we teaching our kids if you're going to go take out a loan? And then the government, which they want to do what they want to do for a reason. We're not going down that rabbit hole. But all of a sudden, the government just says, "Hey, Dave, you got 100,000 student loans, gone. No more paying it. Just wiped out." Like,
yeah, see you later. Have a nice day.
What are we teaching our kids? You went and got a liberal arts degree and then went back and got your master's in something even worse, and then you just get your loans taken care of. How is that? The American way, that money didn't just go away. It's not just gone.
No, you know who's paying for it? The rest of us. The rest of us are paying for it. And I'm sorry if I don't want to pay for your stupid decision.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that offends you, hurts your feelings, makes you feel soft. Like, I don't want to pay for your stupid decisions. Yep. There's a way, we've just laid out ways that you can not acquire the debt, work as a contributing member of society to not have it. I don't want to pay for it. I know you don't want to pay for it, but we just, let's just put our hands up. Everybody's debt.
Yeah.
Gone. See ya. Have a nice day. That's great. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's add a little bit more to our country's problems and make that recession even worse. Yeah, that'd be great. Let's keep going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Continue to make the deficit more. For people that graduate, don't want to pay their loans, and then they get a job that they hate, and they go to an office that they hate every day, and they're unhappy with it. But no, let's wipe out the student loans.
So let me ask you this question. Because you're a mortgage lender. So I get out of school. Cool. My debt just got wiped away. Awesome. I got more money now because I don't have to pay for my debt. I'm going to go buy a big house. That's awesome. And after 3 years, I'm not going to pay for it anymore. Are you going to forgive my loan for me?
Absolutely not.
Because that's what we do, right? We just forgive loans?
Yeah, no.
Oh, you're not? Oh, so what's going to happen to me when I don't pay?
You're going to lose your house.
Oh, really? No, but you guys, everybody takes care of it for me.
Nope.
I'm going to be fine. You're just going to give me the house, right? You're just going to give it to me.
Nope, absolutely not.
I'm just going to go stomp my feet, and I'm going to find a politician that tells me that they're going to get rid of my mortgage debt for me so I can live in that $1 million house.
Well, listen,
it's stupid. It's fucking stupid.
If we continue down the path we're going on, who the hell knows if that's going to happen or not? But if it starts with student loans, where does it end? That's what I want to know. Where does it end? You made a stupid decision by buying too much house because you qualified for the loan due to stupid ratios because your stupid debt was paid off by the government, right? And it's a spiraling problem that there is in this country in general. People have no responsibility. They have no work ethic anymore. And we can go down a rabbit hole to talk for 2 hours about stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you're going to college, guys and gals out there, dads talking to your kids, find a way to pay for it because there's no reason to take out student loans if you don't have to. And and if you do, like I said, if you do, at least be responsible enough to pay them back, and pay back the debt that you took out.
Yeah. Every year, 12 million people take out student loans when they go to school. 20 million people go to school. 12 million take out student loans. And of those 12 million, 7 million end up defaulting.
Not good ratios.
No. And 41% of that number is delinquent within the first 5 years.
So this brings up another topic. This brings up another topic. Why is school so expensive, right? Like, give me I'm waiting for a good reason for it. You have professors that try to, they don't want you to learn. They want to teach you. They want you to learn the way, they want to, I don't even know what the phrase is, but they're just trying to steer you one direction. These professors at these universities, they get tenured. They're not touchable. They can do whatever they want. But why is it so expensive? Why?
I think the word you're looking for is groom.
Yeah, groom. But why is it so expensive? Why? I can promise you the education when I went to school to the education now, and it's been, I've been out of high school for 20 years now. It's not any different. A lot of those buildings on campus are already old and nasty. When I was there, they're still old and nasty. So nothing's changed. So why the 500% increase in the cost? You can't tell me it's inflation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a great answer for you. I think pockets are being lined.
Yeah, I think.
And whose pockets? That's debatable. But I think at the end of the day, it's pockets being lined.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think I've talked enough about college and debt. You got anything else you want to talk about on this subject before we switch gears? You're starting to get a little excited about it, so.
No, I'm good. I'm good on the college talk.
You're a little fire. What'd you do? Switch offices today? You switch studios today, Dave? For those of us watching on YouTube, he's definitely in a different studio.
Yeah, I just bounce from studio to studio. I don't have a home, so I just wherever feels good for the day. That's where I end up setting.
I see some Boston Red.
I'll have to take a picture of my setup out here too, because it's a little weird. I got my computers on a stack of books.
Ah, nice.
I'm sitting on a dining room chair.
Yeah, well, I see some Boston Red. It looks like Fenway Park in the background.
Oh yeah, Fenway Park. Got the Yukon Huskies over that shoulder, and I got the old Dallas Cowboys further down the line there. So,
Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys, did you see that weatherman in Dallas? It was the greatest thing I've seen in the last 24 hours. It's a video. And he's saying the 5-day forecast. They stand at the screen and they say the 5-day forecast, the extended forecast. And he says, and this week's weather forecast is just like the Dallas Cowboys. They peaked in the 90s, and every day shows like 92, 93, 91. And I said, someone needs to give that guy a raise.
That's awesome.
Someone needs to give that guy a raise.
No kidding. Jeez, wow, that's pretty good. Sadly, it's the truth.
Yeah. And so anyway, one more topic I wanted to touch base with you about and get your thoughts. Now that we're 2+ years into this quote unquote pandemic, I think eventually everyone's woken up at this point, and we're trying to get to some sense of normalcy after 2+ years of this. And the topic I want to touch on just briefly, and this is primarily for dads, and I want to use this as to talk about, kind of make it more about a routine type talk, but the subject itself is about going back to the office. All right. I think after all this time away from the office, people, certain companies, certain industries, and I think it's every company is independent of another company in their choice. But a lot of these places now are requiring people to go back to work. Elon Musk just said last week or 2 weeks ago, back to the office, or I'm going to use that. I'm going to take that as you're resigning if you don't come back to the office. And my company, wants some, especially the office staff, the processing side and the people that work hand in hand with each other every day. They're kind of like, hey, it's 1 day a week. Now it's 3 days a week, and eventually let's get back to 5 days a week. And for someone like me, I work remote, and it makes me think. Sometimes I have for a while. For a few years, even pre-pandemic, I was remote most of the time. And you go to the office, pre-pandemic, you were at the office, then you were home for a bit, and now you go to the office. And there's pros and cons to every every side of the story. Now, what are your thoughts on, mandating back to the office? Should bosses be mandating it? Should they not be mandating it? Like, where do you fall in the back to the office talk?
Yeah, I'm a pro office person generally. I think you can get more accomplished in the office than you do at home. You can be more focused. At home, you got distractions. And you might have an animal at home. You might have your kids home more. There's always things you can do at home. You can do laundry. You can clean the house. So like those things can pull you away if you're not super disciplined. And some people are, and that's amazing. But a lot of people aren't. And those things can take away from your productivity. So going to the office, you don't have those distractions. You've got other people around you. I think it helps with your creativity. It helps with, team building, to be there around people than seeing other people on the side of a screen. So I think going to the office is important. At the end of the day, I do think, bosses should mandate it. I think that's what it needs to be. I commend Elon Musk for kind of putting that out there, because there's too many people that are going to they're going to ride this pandemic as far as they could possibly ride it. They're not scared about it anymore, but they're going to use it as a way to be like, no, I'm going to work from home. And you know what? You probably can fully work from home. Technology is so amazing that you can, but at the end of the day, people are paying for these offices, this office space. They're paying for their teams to be together, to really collaborate and build on things. And I think it's better it's better in the office.
Yeah, no, I respect that take on it. I'm like I said, I work remote. When I was out in Tucson, what was about, I don't know, almost 2 months ago now, and I was with you, and I was like, I'm so excited to go to the office, and I was like at the office, and I think I was there for 25 minutes, and I had texted you, I'm like, dude, I hate this. Like,
you texted.
I for someone like me, especially in a sales market, my office is my phone. My office is my laptop when I'm home. But my job in the mortgage business is to be out making contacts and meeting realtors and meeting title companies and meeting lawyers and getting them immersed in the town, and so that is a little bit different for me. So I understand it from a standpoint where, yeah, is it more camaraderie when you're in the office? There's no doubt about it, there is. But I also look at it from a standpoint where a lot of times at the office, especially in certain industries, there's a whole lot of downtime in the office where it's water cooler talk, it's playing grab assets, this, that, and the other thing, where, I think if in a perfect world for me, like an office scenario would be not 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. It would be work remote. If you want to work remote, come to the office. But if you're coming to the office, then work has to be done. Don't go to the office and use it as a social hour. Go to the office and have a plan. And that's where I think the main pro, like I said, I'm playing both sides of the ball here. The main pro for me about an office, about going back to an office or whatever your place of employment is after all this time is, it gets you back into a routine. There was so many people that were just lost for 2 years or however long they were home for. They, all of a sudden they weren't getting up in the morning. The alcohol, look at the alcohol sales during the pandemic. People were drinking at home, trying to work on Zoom. No one can tell you what you're doing. You know what I mean? You put a woman puts a blouse on, or a guy throws on a polo shirt, but he's got gym shorts or boxer shorts on underneath. You know what I mean? Like, the people were lost. And that's where I do side with the go back to the office thing, because if anything, what people need these days, especially dads, hardworking fathers and mothers, they need routine, right? Get up in the morning, set an alarm, get exercising, get to the gym, get the kids to where they're going. If it's camps, if it's this, if it's that, if it's the school year, they're to school. You get you function so much better on a routine and on a plan versus just fly by the seat of your pants, which I'm guilty of a lot of times. You know what I mean?
And for me, a big part of it is having a purpose. I don't necessarily feel when I'm home all the time that I have a purpose. I don't know if that's just, our history and our track record of, you go to the office, this is how you produce, this is how you produce things, this is how you, provide for your family. But when I'm home, I don't feel that same sense of purpose. Now, I could be accomplishing the exact same thing, but inside it doesn't feel the same to me. And I assume it probably, feels the same way to a lot of other people, that you don't feel like you're accomplishing as much by doing it from home.
Yeah, no, you're right. I understand that, and not everybody works the same, right? Like, as you know, and those of you that know me, my ADHD is so bad. Like, I work better under complete and utter chaos than I do sitting inside an office. Like, I go crazy when I sit in the office. As you know, when I'm home, like, yeah, man, kids got something going on. I got to take this phone call. I'm in the office. I got this Zoom. I got this. I'm working on this file. Kids, back to the kids, because that's how my brain works. That's just how I function. I function that way, where I'm not like everybody else. Most people aren't like me. You know what I mean? And so there's, both sides to it. But if you're but at the end of the day, unless you're the owner of the company and your boss, most people are not. If the boss says, hey, you got to we're coming back to the office. Like, you got to suck it up. What do you do? You can't quit your job, especially in a time like now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You got to go back to the office. That's like you said, they're paying for that office space. And, it may suck for some people, because some people did find out and realize that they work better at home. And maybe the numbers show that they did. But if the boss wants you back, you can't pout about it. You know what I mean? You just got to do it. Unless gas prices keep going up, then, who knows what's going to happen, because people aren't going to be able to afford to drive very soon. They're going to be stuck at home because gas is already over $5. I was talking to my mother back home in Connecticut, and she's like, it was like $5.15 a gallon. I'm like, what? So you never,
it's insane.
That's, we could do a whole episode on that too, but let's start to wrap this show up. We hit big topics today: college debt, student loan debt, ways to get through college. We talked about, everyday life, getting back to the office. We've talked about how many different studios you have. So let's talk about our book recommendation.
This is a good one. It's a real good one. It's called The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley.
Put it right up in front of the screen.
And it is a great book. It's an older book.
Nice.
There we go. Now you can see it. It was written back in the 90s, so it's got some age to it, but the principles in it are still relevant today. And really what this goes into is a study of millionaires. And basically what it breaks down to is millionaires aren't who you think they are. They are the people next door, your next door neighbor who is driving a 20-year-old car and living in their paid for house that's sitting on, $1 million in their bank account. It's not the people that you see driving down the street in the Escalade, pulling up to their mega mansion and going away on a yacht trip on the weekend. Its perception is very different from reality. And this book really goes into it and shows you some of the strategies that we've talked about on here on how you can become a millionaire just by being an average person, working an average job, and saving and being disciplined over your lifetime. And you will be the millionaire next door. You will be that person. You'll be the person in the next generation of this book. It's a great read. There's a lot of numbers in it, so be prepared for that. But I mean, it really breaks it down where you're like, you look across the street and you're like, are they a millionaire? Are they a millionaire? Are they a millionaire? And chances are probably two of them are. So, it's great. It's great.
It's good. I read that book years ago when you gave it to me. And, like you said, the millionaire is not the guy going out on the yacht and got the big house. That guy's a millionaire in debt. He's not a millionaire in assets. He's not a true millionaire. And the funny thing about that book is, this is verbatim essentially from what it says in that book. But even my wife the other day, we were all sitting outside hanging out. My father-in-law was over, and she goes, most millionaires drive Toyota Camrys. And it's so true. You know what I mean? It's like, the all-American basic #1 selling car for 10,000 years in a row. And it's like, you can, listen, most millionaires drive Toyota Camrys. They're teachers with pensions. They're whatever. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Most millionaires drive a used car, a 4-year-old used car.
Yep.
That's the truth. That's what these studies have shown us. And it's great because it goes into depth on that. And it really will probably burst your bubble on what you think a millionaire is. It's great. It's a great read. Thomas Stanley was amazing. Sadly, he's no longer with us. But yeah, great book. Go check it out.
Awesome. Well, now, guys and gals, once again, thanks for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, we appreciate it. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts and all major other platforms, keep doing it. Keep spreading the word. I had a good conversation with a friend of mine from high school. I was telling Dave about pre-show that just started listening to the show a couple weeks ago, and then I ended up having a 45-minute conversation with him on the phone. And it was just awesome. He loves how he's giving me some feedback, some some critiquing, which we need, you know, and we can't do that without feedback and people to listen. So it was nice to know that there's people listening, and our friends were here from Florida a few weeks ago. You know, the wife listens, like I had mentioned before. So we appreciate all of you that do listen and spread the word. We're living the full force life here. So Dave, go ahead, take us home.
Yeah, everybody get out there, keep living the full force life. If you got 4th of July plans this weekend, have a great time. America, happy birthday, Kendall. We'll talk to you soon.